Hey, LarkenRose here, and obviously, those who follow me know that I constantly talk about the belief in authority, but there's an aspect of that that I don't focus on that often, which is just hugely destructive, because it's one thing to talk in personal terms about, okay, there's this ruling class, and if you think you have an obligation to obey its garbage and pay tribute to it, you're harming yourself. Because if you're trying to run a business or have a life or whatever, and you feel morally obligated to hand over a chunk of everything you earn to these parasites, like that is your belief being used against you to harm you financially, and limit you to things that politicians say you're allowed to do. Now, they have thugs, so on a practical basis, sometimes you're going to go along even if you understand that it's bogus and you have no obligation to obey. Anyway, but that sort of tiny picture of you as victim of authoritarianism and statism is a thing I talk about pretty much. But you look at the just day-to-day insanity going on in the world, and none of it happens without the belief in authority. And so you have, I'll describe the closest thing that can happen without that. You can have a company run by some corrupt butthead who's doing nasty things, whatever it is, and he may have lots of money. So an individual who's a nasty psycho with lots of money but without political power, without anyone imagining they have the right to rule, there's a certain amount of bad stuff you can do with money, and bad people do bad stuff with money. But the limits of what an individual can do with money but not political power, it's pretty bad. You can spend money to have people just murdered. You can get away with horrible things if you arrange things a certain way. But when you introduce political power into the equation, the scope and scale of the evil just becomes incomprehensible, because you don't have to have willing customers. Like if it turns out, oh, this business was run by this slimeball, and it came out that he's this horrible slimeball, and so lots of people say, well, we're going to boycott your business for 1,000 different reasons. We found out that this company is buying stuff from them over there, and they're using child labor or whatever, so we're going to boycott them. Or they believe this, and they promoted this, so we're going to boycott them. We're going to choose not to give them our business. And some people can do that, and other people can keep giving them business, whatever. There are lots of voluntary ways to withhold trade from people who you find out are slimeballs and doing nasty things. But as soon as political power is involved, the evil is just amplified, just a ridiculous degree. So of course, the Epstein thing is in the news all over the place, and lots of politicians in both parties are pretending, well, we're very much against these heinous crimes, and we want the truth exposed, as long as it's little bits and pieces that we think will make the other side look bad and doesn't really admit the scope of this heinous evil, because both sets of political parasites are absolutely involved and have done heinous things that if the people actually knew what had happened, they wouldn't just vote them out. They'd probably string them up. Literally. But you get this story going along, and you get all the stupid posturing and PR and propaganda of all sorts of politicians trying to cover their own butts and trying to use it to, those guys are bad. The people in that group of puppets are the baddies. We're good. We're trying to, that whole ridiculous puppet show. But beneath that, for those who paying any attention, at this point, it's kind of silly to deny at least the likelihood that Epstein was absolutely an agent of Israel. He's Mossad. He's getting blackmail leverage on people so that they will do the bidding of these people over here. Okay, so even in that setting, imagine that happening, or try to imagine that happening without political power. Because, for example, the Israeli government and military does lots of evil things, just mass murder, just evil crap after evil crap after evil crap, funded largely by American taxpayers who are robbed by the U.S. ruling class. Why? because they think that paying your taxes is good. So billions and billions of dollars in weapons go from this ruling class to that ruling class so they can commit genocide and mass murder and all sorts of evil crap. And none of that would happen that way without the notion of political authority, without political power, which comes from the belief in the people that we have to go along with this. So the corruption of power first requires there to be power. And while that is possible in some ways in a voluntary society, you know, if there's some big company and somebody says, hey, if you do this and promote this and kind of lie about our competition, we'll pay you some money without telling anybody, if you'll like sell our products and badmouth our competition and just do sort of dishonest, slimy things. But you can't, like, I challenge anybody in the comments below to try to come up with a scenario where there's literally open, overt, ongoing mass murder, genocide, and war crimes committed by private industry without the help of political power, without the help of the belief in authority. So all these heinous games that you read about, and this is just, you know, this is the one in the news at the moment, but there's an infinite number of them at any given time involving political power. And you just don't get that without authoritarianism. You can't get that to anywhere near the same degree. And so you just, like, look at Israel. I'll offend people and see if I can get banned. The Israeli ruling class in the military has just done heinous things. And over there, the attitude is so pack mentality and nationalistic that they do the world the favor of being just openly proud of their sadistic evil shit they do. A lot of them. And, like, how is that funded? Well, by taxpayers. By U.S. taxpayers who get robbed by U.S. parasites and by taxpayers in Israel. Although, at this point, I'm not even sure they need to pay anything because they're getting stolen loot from the U.S. parasites. And just doing heinous things. Like, you just, for those saying, well, Hamas does this, and well, Israel, look at pictures of Gaza from today. There is not, by any stretch of the imagination, a sane, moral, non-evil explanation for that happening. For taking this huge area that tons of people lived in and reducing it to rubble. Regardless of what anybody did, that is absolutely heinously evil. And that only happens when you have massive amounts of funding by way of government extortion. Nobody else has the resource to do that. And people, it's funny because sometimes people say, well, if not for government, evil corporations would, and do what? Like, you think Pepsi Cola is going to, like, we're going to spend $100 billion on genocide over here. Like, and then all your customers leave and then you don't have any money. Even if the people at the top are just all the way evil psychopaths, economically that doesn't make any sense because you don't get to force your customers to buy your crappy products, unlike government that forces people to buy their crappy products. And because people feel an obligation to obey the law and pay their taxes, you then have this massive pile of resources available for the worst people in the world to do the worst things imaginable. And I think people, like normal people, if they look at they watch the news and they don't want to comprehend just how freaking evil things can get. So even when there's just sadistic, evil genocide going on, which, by the way, the U.S. ruling class and military has done plenty of that too, in wars and outside of wars, and undeclared wars, and all over the place. So it's not, sadly, the example of what Israel has been doing for years is not all that unusual. Ruling classes do evil crap all over the place. But none of that happens, and you don't have a giant propaganda wing of all these paid-off Republicans making excuses for mass murder. You spineless cowards. And spineless cowards are worse. At best, almost every single Republican in Congress is a spineless coward. Most of them are all the way just sociopaths, sellout, evil bastards. And so are the Democrats, in case anybody thinks I'm choosing sides. But you don't get that scale of evil ongoing right out in public without the belief in authority. But when people are watching it, they don't want to, they want to believe, oh, Israel's just defending itself, the collectivist mindset. Like, Israel's a place, and what their ruling class is doing is evil. And other people doing evil things doesn't change the fact that what the military and ruling class of Israel does is just profoundly fucking evil. Netanyahu is a fucking psychopath. And that's the difference. You have a fucking psychopath there, responsible for just mass murder, and if not for the belief in authority, everybody would recognize that, and the guy would long since be dead. And the same thing is true of Trump, who's bragging, I mean, the numbers are way smaller, but he's openly bragging, we're blowing up these boats that we just assert have drugs on board. Even if that's true, that's a war crime. That's murder. And he's openly doing it. And the only reason he can get away with it is because he's in a position of authority. And people, well, the president should have the power to blah, 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 blah. Do you have the right to just blow up a boat and murder people? Well, I thought they were bringing some substances that are bad for you over to our country, so I murdered a bunch of people. I didn't know them, knew almost nothing about them. They hadn't done anything yet. Never mind that they're, even if they're what I say they are, they're selling to willing customers at the other end. No, I'm just going to murder people. And everybody would think, whoa, you're a psycho, dude. No matter what you think, calm down. Unless you have political power and political authority, and then people want to believe that. And just to not pick on the psychos in Israel, I mean, they deserve to be picked on, but to demonstrate that it isn't at all unique to that thing going on. In World War II, like Hitler and Mussolini did their power grabs, and there was a big war, and most people understand almost none of it. Some people are like, I'm going to be edgy by deciding Hitler was a good guy. Well, you're just a friggin' idiot. But part of the reason some people think that is they look into what the Allied forces did, the psychopaths of the ruling classes that got together and were known as the Allied forces as opposed to the Axis. And there was just evil crap all over the place. The firebombing of Dresden, the firebombing of Tokyo, the nuking of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Just mass unnecessary atrocities that were only accepted and people only make excuses for it because of statism, because of their belief in authority. Well, it saved us many lives. If some random person had nuked a city and just instantly exterminated hundreds of thousands of people and injured fatally in a lot of cases many, many, many more, would anybody go, well, good? Or would everyone go, that's utterly insane? Even if there were some evil people in those cities who had done evil things, you don't nuke hundreds of thousands of people. That's just profoundly evil. Unless you're government. And unless we have an emotional, psychological attachment to the ruling class that did that crap, and then we'll sort of make excuses. Then we'll start to talk in the collective of, well, Japan had done this. Well, Japan didn't do anything. Japan is a place. Their ruling class did evil crap, like the ruling class of Japan did lots of evil crap to lots of Chinese people, and then was on the side of the Mussolini and the Third Reich, and did their imperial Japan, like they didn't hide the fact that they were imperial, like the U.S. hides that. Well, not anymore, now that we have a Department of War again, thanks to the bloodthirsty psychopath in chief. But these things don't happen at all without the normal people believing in authority. Because normal people watching evil being committed in the name of authority, they can't even ponder the possibility of forcibly resisting authority. Like everybody who has been president in the U.S., Carter might have been an exception, but I doubt it. I don't know what all of them deserve to be killed. All of them committed heinous crimes. They gave orders that resulted in innocent people being murdered. All of them. And if any normal person had done any of that, like, oh, that guy ordered the droning of some American over there, well, he should probably be killed for that. Is that controversial? Is that, how could you say such a thing? No, but if you say that about Obama, who literally gave orders to murder people, including a U.S. citizen, with a drone strike on purpose, and you say, well, that's evil, he probably deserved to die for that, or deserved to die, whatever, it would have been justified for the victims, the families of the victim, to say, you just murdered our family member, we're going to come get you. Would that be justified? Yeah. Are you allowed to say that or think that if the one who gave the order for the murder has political power? No. Now you're talking about something. Oh, we can't have that discussion. You can't talk about, like, actually doing something to the king. That's the leftover mentality. And now we pretend it's something different. Well, we don't believe in divine right of kings. We have elections and constitutions, and we're a constitutional republic where we have a House and Senate, and they represent the people, and bullshit, 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 bullshit. At the end of the day, the result is that guy just ordered people to be murdered, and his idiotic underlings murdered people. Well, why does he deserve death less than if a cartel member did the exact same thing? Because he was elected. Oh, so morality changed because some weird political rituals happened before? And this is what the belief in authority does, to the point where people are more upset by a discussion that, like, a president, like, it would be justifiable to knock off the president or congressmen or a bunch of political parasites all over the place. They're more upset with that discussion, like somebody saying, you know, Trump is ordering murder. If a family member of one of those victims offs him, oh well, kind of deserved it. You were ordering murder. That makes people literally more uncomfortable than watching the murders happen and having the murderer brag about it. Well, even if it's kind of unfortunate, or I don't think that's justified, that might be illegal. Okay, might be murder, might be a war crime. In fact, it is murder and it is a war crime. How do you respond if somebody talks about maybe the guy who did this should be knocked off? Now, not even going to say that would be useful, because another puppet would be there and do the same thing. I'm just saying, is it justified? Is it any less justified than if some cartel boss had ordered somebody to be murdered, ordered the competition to be murdered? Hey, you're bringing in drugs. And as it happens, I know somebody who, as far as I can tell, that's why they were killed by drug gangs down in Mexico, is for being competition. Would anybody say, oh, well, you can't talk about, like, retaliation against the guy who gave the order to murder somebody? No, in that case, everybody would be like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad that's going on at all, and that's not a lot of people's focus. But would anybody be mortified at the idea of, like, the head of that gang or the head of that cartel or whatever should be knocked off for the evil crap that he's told his underlings to do? No, nobody would be offended by that. Even if they disagree, they wouldn't be offended by it. Unless the guy's elected. And then suddenly, oh, you can't talk about that. And this is true even among a bunch of pro-freedom people, because there's still that residual statism. And they can't just say, this guy openly ordered and bragged about murdering people. Not even legally. You can't even pretend it's legal. So it's not even like, well, he did it illegally, so he didn't even do that. Trump ordered absolute illegal war crimes. That is not in any way disputable by anybody being remotely close to honest with themselves. Where in the Constitution is anybody authorized to just murder people off the shore of some other country in the middle of nowhere, not at war? Somebody allegedly intending to later do something which, under completely unconstitutional laws, is illegal if they happen to come here, if they were going to later. That's just murder. There's nothing legal about that for those who believe in such things. So you can have somebody in political power all the way illegally committing murder, and still most people get instantly creeped out at the discussion of if somebody knocked him off. Like, if I lived in Venezuela and I had a relative that just got murdered, I would feel justified knocking off the murderer who is openly bragging about it, showing the video over and over again. I would feel justified knocking him off if he murdered somebody in my family. But most people get uncomfortable if the ones doing the evil have political authority because they've been trained like dogs to perceive that differently. And it's the same thing with cops on a much lower level. Like, oh, here's this story of a cop planted evidence, this, and barged into this house without a warrant, blah, blah. Like, even according to the Supreme Court, if a cop barges into a house, doesn't have probable cause, doesn't have exigent circumstances, doesn't have a warrant, he's just an armed intruder. But the fact that he's wearing that costume and badge makes most people cringe if I say, if somebody barges into your house with a gun in the middle of the night, you have the right to blow their damn head off. Whether or not they have a badge makes exactly no difference to that. None at all. That will suddenly make most people uncomfortable. Well, guess what? That very sentiment that, well, you can't talk about using force against the king's guards that we have to bow to and somehow treat differently, because morality is different when they do things, even if the things are all the way illegal and are actually crimes and are murder and stuff. Well, we don't want to talk about that. We'll have them look into it and maybe have that king's guard fired. No, he should have been shot in the head. If he violently barged into somebody's house in the middle of the night, no warrant, no probable cause. If somebody else did that and would deserve to have his head blown off, then the cop deserves to have his head blown off. He did the exact same thing. You think the morality applies differently if somebody wears a badge? And the answer is yes, most people do think that. Or rather, they feel that. They don't think anything. This is indoctrination. And the sad thing is, that belief in the minds of the normal people is why you have so much police abuse. It's why you have warmongering. It's why authoritarian power has been used to do so many heinous, evil things, is because the idea of resisting authority to most people is really uncomfortable. So that when a cop gets caught doing something just obviously illegal and violent and evil, most people are still in the discussion of, he shouldn't be a cop. He shouldn't be breathing. And you can see these videos over and over again. The police abuse. If anybody else had done that, like, oh, you just randomly stopped this person and then they didn't treat you like their master, so you beat the crap out of them and assaulted them and tried to cage them. If anybody else had done that and the person had shot their attackers, everybody would go, well, good. The attacker was being a psycho, person defended himself. Okay, we don't really give a crap about the dead person because he didn't know how to behave as a civil, moral human being. He was violently attacking people. But he has a badge. Oh, well, in that case, we better have a hearing and we better literally let the guy's gang decide whether he was guilty. He was guilty. There's a video. You can see him doing evil crap. Well, yeah, well, maybe we should petition for him to be fired. Really? Is that the response you'd have if some normal street gang, some thug there murders somebody? Well, we should definitely petition the gang that he's part of to tell him he's not allowed to be in their gang anymore. Would that be your response? No, because you've been indoctrinated to believe in authority, and that is why authority gets away with this evil. And you look at the Epstein story. Of all the people, oh, this is horrible. And some people are saying this, but it's not very many, and it's almost nobody in the mainstream media. The allegations about forcibly victimizing underage children, how many people in the media dare to say, if you did that, and there is proof that you did that, you should be killed? And if you're a president and you did that, and there's proof you did that, you should be killed. And if you're a congressman and there's proof that you did that, you should be killed. If you're a cop, if you're a foreign prime minister, if you're a whatever, and there's evidence of doing that, you should be killed. How many people are incapable of saying that or even thinking that? Including people who in any other context, hey, if I found out my neighbor was like doing these heinous assaults on underage children, yeah, if somebody blows his damn head off, I'm perfectly okay with that. A lot of people would say that. How many of those people would say the same thing if their neighbor was a congressman or the president? I mean, of course, you're not having the ruling class just living next door in a normal neighborhood. But how many are capable of saying that? Almost none, because the peasants have still been trained to view their authoritarian masters as somehow different, as above the law. And, I mean, I remember ages ago when I was still statist, when it suddenly occurred to me, equality under the law is and always was absolute bullshit. Always, without exception. That has never been true anywhere in the world at any point in history. If by law you mean the dictates made up by ruling classes. You know how I know? I don't have the ability to make up some random dictate and have it be law in the eyes of everybody else. So immediately, obviously, indisputably, there's not equality under the law. Those assholes claim the right to rob the rest of us and call it taxation. I can't do that. We're not equal. Why is anybody pretending there has ever been equality under the law? And so, I mean, on a daily basis, you get more examples of that than you could possibly count. Oh, the cop thought maybe the tint of your windows was slightly darker than some politician said you were going to, so he threw on the red and blue lights, which is a threat of violence to make you stop, and then he demanded money from you, highway robbery. Well, yeah, but that's the law. In other words, yeah, but I've been trained pretty much from birth to imagine that there's a certain group of people who have an exemption from morality. And then I'm going to read the news and find out that that certain group of people who I was taught has an exemption from morality and has special rights, has superhuman rights to rule the rest of us. Oh, turns out they did heinously evil things. Huh. I wonder why they could get away with that. I wonder why they had the resources to do that. Is it maybe because huge numbers of people feel an obligation to fund them doing that evil crap? So it's just people don't get how much their own mentality is the root, well, it's not the root cause, but it enables the heinous evil you're seeing, the warmongering, the creepy crap like Epstein, all that heinous garbage. All of that is only possible because of the normal people believing in authority. But people don't want to imagine that their own belief system is why a bunch of this crap is happening. But it absolutely and totally is. And like I do this thought experiment all the time. Imagine tomorrow nobody believed in political authority. Nobody viewed the president or congressman or cops as anything other than people. Like they all forgot that particular belief system. And then they're living their lives and they just view people as people. It's like, oh, I'm driving down the street, it's a lovely day. Why is the vehicle behind me? I have weird flashing lights and like, I guess I'll get out of their way. Wait, they're following me. They're pulling over too. There's this strange guy getting out of the thing with a gun. Fuck this, I'm leaving. Now he's chasing me. Now there's more. Like, maybe shoot the bastards. Because I'm being chased by an armed gang when I didn't threaten or harm anybody. What the hell's going on? Imagine how quickly the world would change if all the normal people forgot, even if the agents of evil of the state still believed in it. If all the normal people forgot that, think how crazy the first day would be, and then there is no more government. I got a letter in the mail from Internal Revenue Service. I've never heard of these people. They say I owe them some huge amount of money for what? Did you provide a service? No, it's just they said I earned money, so they think they have a right to a cut of it? Like, screw you. I mean, they're going to throw it in the trash or write back to them and say, screw you, you psychos. Stay away, I'm going to blow your damn head off, you thieving loonies. And that's the end. Just because that belief changed in this thought experiment. literally the next day there wouldn't be a ruling class anymore. If everybody treated agents of the state the way they would treat literally anybody else in the world who acted that way. That's the end, just instantly. And it shows how much the belief in authority is the entire frickin' problem. The symptoms of it, the warmongering, the evil corruption in the most heinous ways you can imagine, and then heinous ways you can't imagine, all of that is just symptoms of a thing that comes from the people believing in authority. And the simple thought experiment of, what if people didn't believe in it tomorrow? And if you said, I'm from Congress, they said, what the hell are you talking about? You're just some guy. Well, you're not allowed to, build a thing in your own backyard. Who the hell are you? You don't get to tell me that, and if you try to stop me and you intrude on my property, I might just shoot you because you're a psycho? All of that ends if normal people stop imagining authority and then treat agents of the state the way they would treat anybody else. Not go out of their way to attack them, but just, I'll give everyone the benefit of the doubt, say hi to random people I don't even know. And if somebody attacks me or threatens me, okay, now things are going to get nasty. Oh, but he has a shiny metal thing on him. What the hell difference does that make? And people who have outgrown the superstition of authority think, what the hell difference does that make? Now, it does make one difference, which is that the psycho wearing the shiny piece of metal probably really and truly believes he has superhuman rights. And when he's going around being an idiotic thug for the worst people in the world, he's going to think he's the good guy. Does that make him the good guy? If some psycho is going around, it just, God appointed me to slaughter anybody with red hair or something. Well, if you really and truly believe that God appointed you to do that, it's still going to blow your damn head off when you get to me. I don't care about your beliefs. You still don't have the right to commit aggression against other people. But what if I have a shiny badge and I'm just violently kidnapping people when they haven't threatened or harmed anybody? Well, you're an evil piece of crap, and your victims absolutely have the right to blow your damn head off. And the fact that so few people can even think about such things, much less talk about them, that is why all of this evil crap is happening. It's your belief system that enables all of it. So all the people, well, I respect the law, and yeah, I vote, and I support the... Okay, then you're the problem. And you can point at all the symptoms of the problem, all the effects of the problem. Oh, look at this horrible warmonger, and these crimes, and these politicians got caught doing all that. You are the power source. You and all the other people who believe in government. You are the power source of all of that evil crap. It can't exist without you believing in authority. So yeah, you can point to these heinous people who do heinous things you would never do on your own if you're not a freaking psychopath. But your belief and your subservience and your compliance is what gives them the power they use to do these evil things. And until that changes in a lot of normal people's heads, evil crap is going to keep happening. Because you're empowering it. Stop empowering evil. You don't even have to go overthrow it. You just have to have the people not empowering it. So to end this, I have to throw in this quote, which is obviously relevant, from Etienne de Boetie. Quote, and this is talking to the population, not just one person, resolve to serve no more, and you are at once freed. I do not ask you place hands upon the tyrant to topple him over, but simply that you support him no longer. Then you will behold him like a great colossus whose pedestal has been pulled away, fall of his own weight, and break in pieces. By the way, look up that quote and read all the stuff that comes before that. It is so freaking profound, and it is just as true today as it was a gazillion years ago when he wrote it. That's all it is. And all the decent, normal people who still believe in statism, they don't get. You are the source of power for all the evil that you're shocked and horrified by. Maybe learn that and stop being their power supply.